Hisense pumps out a ton of e-paper devices. They were one of the first to do color. They have the only standing e-ink music player to date, and hold more smartphones in their lineup than any other manufacturer running e-paper screens. It's not even close. However, there's one thing they don't have in their entire device lineup, and that is an e-reader. Until now. This is the Hisense Hi Reader, and well, it looks just like a phone. In fact, it is easily mistaken as one. However, this has no SIM card, no cellular capabilities whatsoever, and no earpiece. Therefore, even if you wanted to use it as a phone, you couldn't, unless you used the loudspeaker up top. However, don't think it's not brimming with specs just because it's an e-reader. In fact, it uses an octa-core processor with 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs onboard storage with Android 10. It only weighs 177 grams, meaning it's amongst the lightest of e-readers in the market, and it has a 6.7-inch screen. How is it different from the previous releases of theirs? And how does it perform overall? Well, let's look at things, starting with the UI. Overall, the Hisense Hi Reader uses a lot of the same operating system and UI elements from their previous units. You have everything on the bottom here: bookshelf, bookstore, apps, and settings. You can swipe left and right to kind of navigate between them all, or you can simply just tap on them. Bookshelf is anything that you're going to download or install via the actual bookstore there, and they do use the iReader bookstore in order to get books. So unfortunately, most if not all the content is just going to be Chinese, but you can sideload in content onto this, which we will show you obviously in a little bit. You have your apps right here. You can uninstall them, you can install them. If you don't like something like Baidu, for example, you can literally click uninstall, click OK, and it goes away entirely. You don't have to be worried about the placeholder Chinese stuff they have there. This is primarily for the Chinese market, which is why they're there in the first place. You can get rid of them instantly. Swiping the top down, this is where you're going to find all of your stuff. This is where all the display modes are. This is where your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, your sound, your auto rotate, a lot of cell phone-esque kind of things. Again, this isn't a cell phone, but I mean it might as well be. And you have your glow light, which will show you a little bit later on. You have 4 speed modes, which will show you some video as well. And we do have an update. In fact, we're going to do the update and be right back with you. I mean, how could we continue without an update? So that just changed a bunch of things. It didn't have a change log or anything like that, but we are back in action. Now you see you have your settings here. This is just going to be a lot of stuff that is on Android, all of your location services, your accounts, your system updates, and your overall displays and vibration. You'll notice something that says e-ink button, and what the e-ink button does is allow you to quick nav things on the left button here, which is the dedicated e-ink button. For example, if I want to set screen refresh right here to the short press, I can press it anytime, on anywhere, and it's always going to do that screen refresh. I can assign a double click. When I double click, I will have the auto light of the backlight either turn off or on respectively, and I can choose to assign that to anything I wish. You don't have to have it on there. You can have it on anything. Switch to the next music, start an application, what have you. You can even do a long press, in which case you can long press the button like that, and it'll go into this shorthand, in which case it will do different things based on the app you're in. Like if you're in an ebook, it'll search for things. If you're in a PDF, it'll open up navigation, what have you. So it is nice to have this button here that you're allowed to assign for different things, and if you ever get confused, you can go to the e-ink button introduction, in which case it's going to tell you everything. If you check the video card up above with the e-ink screen settings, it will tell you everything you need to know about this. We've already covered all this, what bleaching app is, front anti-aliasing, input method direct refresh. There's a lot that goes into this one section that we actually have a dedicated video for. So this is a 6.7-inch screen, which means it's bigger than a 6-inch screen, but they measure it diagonally. Screens are always measured diagonally, which means it kind of feels smaller than a Kindle screen because it's so long, like a smartphone. So unfortunately, The reading experience is good, but it's very crunched and condensed. But the beauty of having this is that it really does fit in one hand, and you have volume controls on the sides. And most applications like Aldeco and the Amazon application, they will allow you to change pages using the volume buttons. So in that regard, having a thinner build, a thinner and more elongated kind of candy bar shape rather than a flat plaque like an Amazon Kindle or a Kobo, means that you truly can hold this in one hand and read your books very, very comfortably. It is honestly a very comfortable experience. And because it's not a 4-inch or a 5-inch, you do get a lot of screen real estate. Now, this is going to depend, your experience that is, on what app you're using. For example, this is Aldeco, so we'll have some highlights, some underlines, and we'll have some search functions. And of course, Amazon is going to have X-ray and all that other stuff. So it is going to come down to what application you are using, but honestly, it really doesn't matter. This thing is a very capable Android e-reader, or Android tablet, basically. So you're going to have no problem whatsoever. You do have your different modes as well. We'll show you a little more in depth when we get to videos, but it can make things very smooth. And you can see if you go to speed mode, you actually get page turn animations back. Again, natively this can run anything, but the experience is only going to be as good as the app you're using. We're using WPS Office, which we downloaded from the Good e-Reader App Store. It's very quick. It's very quick, it's very snappy, and this particular app does scrolling, so you can actually scroll up and down. Now you see some previous notes we've made on a previous version of this. Unfortunately, no, this doesn't have any sort of note-taking capabilities at all. You can, however, download scribbling applications and use your fingertip or a capacitive stylus on here, but this doesn't have Wacom or anything like that. It's not a pocket note by any means, but this does have a very good PDF experience. The beauty about having an overpowered device is that you're never lacking energy, you're never lacking power, you're never lacking function. If I want to swipe something and move it up and down and pinch and zoom on something, if I'm on a slower device, you can't do that. You can't make something out of nothing. But if you're already on something that has a lot of inherent power in its processor and RAM, well then, sky's the limit. Now, we will be honest, pitting this up against a standard Japanese manga, it is a little on the small side. A typical Japanese manga sits around the 7.8-inch diagonal measurement, so in that regard, it's small. But the quality is top-notch. It is very high contrast, very concise and very crisp lines, and again, we go back to the ability to just pinch and zoom on anything. Even in the clearest mode, you get a little bit of flashing for refresh, but it is so high quality, this manga experience, and a lot of that has to do with the high resolution and the smaller screen size. When you have a smaller screen size, naturally things are more dense, so even if you're hovering around the 200 ppi, as it is so small, just naturally just becomes more densified, so you just get a better experience. But this is a very, very good experience in terms of manga, and you can hold it in one hand and you can read manga when you're on the go. It's very top-notch. The App Store that they have bundled on here has some pros and cons. The cons is that everything's in Chinese. The pros are that they have thousands and thousands of applications. It is unbelievable how many apps they have. So that is a little bit of a downside, is that you really just can't utilize apps on this with the App Store included unless you speak Chinese, you read Chinese, etc. But don't worry, you can always go over to the e-ink browser, in which case you can go to the Good e-Reader App Store, you can go to One Mobile, you can go to APK Mirror, you can download apps directly on this device, no problem. You simply click on something like Amazon or Aldeco, which you see we downloaded right here, and you can just simply install it. This has a package installer on board, so you don't have to worry about that. It will ask you if you want to install the app, and it just kicks it right on the device. It's Android 10, so it's just about as high as any Android version is in the entire world on ePaper. We're up to Android 11 on Big Me and Onyx, but for the most part 10 will get you by, no problem.
Move it, baby. Move it, body.
hair color is utilizing the very latest Kaleido Plus screen with e-ink's patented on-cell technology. Now comes one of the only negatives in this entire device, is the glow light. The glow light's great. It looks good, it has different modes, you can even do a little drop down, and you have a whole bunch of different things right here where you can change the contrast alongside it system-wide. But the glow light itself doesn't have any warm lighting, so you only get the white LEDs. You can go to about halfway, a little bit below half, to kind of make this off-white stone, but for the most part, you only have the one set of LEDs in order to utilize it. Distribution is good, there's no spillage, it doesn't look bad by any means, but unfortunately, that lack of warm lighting is a little bit of an issue. This is easily mistaken as a smartphone. It looks and feels and performs, just like one. But it isn't a smartphone at all. It's an e-reader with a dedicated e-ink button, a high-quality screen, and a very capable operating system. In the world of ebook readers, this device kind of is overkill, but that could be a good thing. This definitely does rest within the more premium classification of e-reading devices. For GoodyReader.com, this is Peter.